Okay, lovely. So, very good morning. Thank you for spending your Saturday morning with us. Personal branding, we've been doing this series. We initially started as a part of the Leader in You Lean In group, but we did understand from our post that everybody wanted to attend and join, or at least be a part of the recording. And since this workshop, this particular session, we've opened it out to everyone who registers can join, which means we will find multiple genders also being present in the session. So don't get startled if you've been attending the series and suddenly, how did these men join the session? It's because we have actually opened it out to everyone. This is the third in the series. Selva will talk about what we did in the prior two series. I may also share a link to the previous two recordings in case that interests you. But before I hand it over to Selva, Selva graciously agreed to be talking to us about for the third session. And Selva is a leader in the human resources space, and she has an experience of over 20 years working with global environments, both in fast-paced startups and mature large organizations. And she has a very strong track record of delivering high growth and transformational stuff for McKinsey, ThoughtWorks, Mercedes-Benz, so on and so forth, along with that HR consulting and professional coaching experience that makes her today a very sought-after HR expert. She's a very good friend of mine. Both of us are coaches, and we keep exchanging our thoughts, ideas, and that's how this workshop actually happened. She's seen thousands of individual career journeys from campus to CXOs while working with large companies for over 20 years in HR leadership roles. She witnesses the power of safe spaces when coaching senior professionals, and now she is into helping small and medium businesses across sectors to build diverse, equitable, and inclusive culture through HR consulting and curated talent engagement solutions. We are very happy to have you here, Selva, and over to you.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine. So let's get started. Rupa and Basobi, is that the right way to pronounce your name?
Yes, please. Yes, Rupa. Yes.
Okay. I can't hear Basobi. So, great. So we are here to talk about personal branding. How do I access the...
Sorry. I just mute myself for obvious reasons. There is a construction going on in my area. So I don't want everyone to hear the whirring of those annoying machines throughout the day.
Sure. Okay. So will you also share the deck, Shanti? Oh, I can just share it. You're on mute, by the way. Okay.
Yeah, you can share it. You have the access.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Let me download it first because I hadn't. Some reflections on what made you join this session. Rupa, Basobi, keep it informal. I mean, there is no formality here. You can be fully yourself. What made you join this session today?
See, in my case.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Yeah. I conduct a lot of these I Am Remarkable sessions, which is the Google program. So, one of the things that I emphasize at the tail end of the program, which is not a part of the Google session, is about the importance of personal branding. They're also very indelibly connected, like in terms of self-advocacy, speaking about your achievements, and then also about, how do you want others to see you? What is the persona that you want to present to others? So I was just thinking that maybe it will be a good idea for me to attend this session because the experts in personal branding are speaking, so that if there is anything more that I can learn about it, is one of the reasons why I decided I should be attending this.
Fantastic. Anything from you, Rupa?
Actually, in my case, to be really honest, I am very hesitant when it comes to. So I'm a marketing and communication professional, and I have helped startups define their mission and vision statement, given them branding and everything. But then when it comes to my own branding, I lag behind. There is an ambivert personality that works in it. Then overall, the mindset that with which we are raised, that you should not sing your own praises, or you should
not highlight yourself too much or something like that. Those are very nurturing kind of things that parents usually used to think, but at least like 30 years back, that was how parenting was. But then somehow you realize at some point in your time, in your life, when you're sitting for interviews, or you suddenly realize that, okay, you have done a lot for others, but what about yourself? And there is no right way or wrong way to start it. I do not know. So basically, it's a very haphazard sort of a situation where I do not know where to pick from and how to really project myself and overcome my own inhibitions for that matter.
Awesome.
Thank you for sharing. That's really beautiful. And that's all we are here today. And if you have missed our last two sessions, I would strongly recommend that you look at the recording as well, because they form the seed or basic foundations of what is personal branding. In today's session, we are going to address if there are any blockers that you have in your own personal branding journey, and how to really first recognize them and maybe find a way to address them. Now, the idea of doing this was that many of us know what is personal branding at a higher level, at a very 30,000, 50,000 feet higher level. But when we get down to ground realities is where the real struggle is, like what Basubi mentioned. And Rupa is already somebody who's facilitating, so she understands the power of personal branding, right? So therefore, it's important for us to figure out where am I today and what can I do and what are the blockers that I need to fix. In a positive way, to look at where are my strengths and where are my areas that I need to improve on. That's how we want to. So therefore, the idea was to look at eliminating your blockers, and we called it ZZ factors, because they always say, does the brand have an X factor, right? But before that, let's figure out what is stopping us. Shanti, you shared a YouTube link. Was that for us to see now?
Not now, not now.
Oh.
This is for their reference later.
Oh, okay. So let's start, right? Are you able to see my screen? Just need to share. Okay. Are you able to see it?
Yes, but this is Gmail.
Oh, okay. I think I need to figure out how to work with Teams and sharing. Let me try and share it again. So I'm doing press share and then screen window or tab. And then there is entire screen. Okay, that's the one that I needed. Got it. Now you should be able to see the presentation.
Yes.
Okay, got it. So we want to get a head start on what is personal branding, which we already covered. But what we want to reiterate is that it is the process. It's not a one step. One day you would have arrived. It's never like that. It's a process of marketing yourself as a brand, right? And what we mean by brand is the way you appear to others. And in this case, we're looking at professional branding, which is how people recognize you as a professional. So what we thought is we could look at some quick exercise for you. Yeah. Let's see where you are with this. Are you ready for an interesting exercise? Yeah, Rupa and Basobi?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So why don't you, if you can, if you're, you can go to another screen, look at your own name. Google your name and see what results come to you, and try different ways of searching just your first name, just your last name, just your first name and your profession, any combination that you like, and see what pops up. And if you have a minute just for us to share what you see. Let me stop the presentation so I can see you for a minute before I do it again. It doesn't have to be too long, just a quick check-in, because we have other activities for you lined up as well. Anyone?
I see my LinkedIn coming up first.
Okay.
Then after that, all the other companies that I'd worked for, and it comes there. And in my particular case, because there has been a new consultancy that I launched in the last couple of days, there is a lot of media coverage on that, so that comes later on after that. But first is LinkedIn.
Okay. And what's your feeling with that? How happy are you? What's running through your mind when you see that?
I think I'm happy that the LinkedIn came up first, because that's the which professionally I would like to be seen by others, right? So I think I'm happy that LinkedIn came first. If it was anything else, possibly I would have been a little disappointed.
Anything that you expect didn't happen?
I expected my mugshot to come up first, which didn't. So it's not a disappointment. It was a surprise. That's all. I mean, I thought maybe when you say images, it will come up in Google, but because it was a generic search that I gave, so just the LinkedIn came up first. Yeah.
Okay, great. Do you have anything to share, Basobi?
Not really. I'd rather mute on this, because I mean, I suddenly feel that I'd rather listen, because my blockages are far too real. So I'd rather be the listener here right now.
Okay, all right. Although I must share with you upfront that this is going to be a very hands-on workshop where you will need to do a lot of individual work. Not a lot. I mean, it's more mental than anything else. But Sobi, if you're happy, and see what are the kind of stuff that you can discover towards personal branding. Is that okay?
I completely missed out your audio for like a minute or
seconds,
so. Yeah.
Okay. So let me just reiterate what I'm saying is that it is going to be a hands-on workshop. Therefore, you will need to do some amount of work. So it will not be purely just listening. We might ask you to reflect on some aspects for you to share back. I was checking whether you're comfortable with that.
I am comfortable with it.
Okay, great. So let's move on. So we discovered what is our personal branding, and then we wanted to talk about some elements. These are just basic fundamentals that all of us know about. One is, it is about who you are as a professional. As a personal branding, yeah, that's different. If you're, there are a couple, like Rupa has her own consultancy, right? So everything about what she does as a consultancy will also come up. But if you are working in an organization, then it is about your professional experience and what kind of function, domain, skills, expertise do you stand for. And then, so this is a tricky one. Huh? This is about what is the value that you embrace. It's not very easy to find out, but it's very that you see a profile or a LinkedIn profile.
Selma, your voice goes away for a few seconds every now and then.
Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Let me just fix the mic.
Yeah, also Basobi, Rupa, Vaishnavi, these were covered in the part 1 and part 2, the links that I have shared. So the information that we are supposed to be knowing about building the personal brand was covered in detail in those 2 workshops. This is just a recap. So don't get hassled if you are rushing through these slides.
Right. I'm just trying to connect my mic. Hopefully this should work. Just I need some feedback. Am I audible?
Much better.
Okay, great. Shall I proceed?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was saying that the first few seconds that you glance any profile, there is a bit of a either an emotional connect or a value connect that you do. Oh, this person has worked in a spectrum for a long time, or this person has still a fresher, still looking for more experience, right? Therefore, the energy of the profile is something that you gauge. It may not be true, but it is still something that gets noticed by the viewer. The other part of it is about the actions that you take. How do you market yourself? Where all do you market yourself? What makes you unique and special? And the ways in which you express some of these values in different forums and activities and work that you do. Many a times, what makes you special is a question that gets startled by people, because I can talk about mine, right? There are many people who are working on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'm not the only one. However, I do have my own work and passion cut out within that space, and that's what makes me unique and special, perhaps. There may be many like me, still, my energy, my profile, my background makes it special. Why it's not moving? Okay. This is what we will be doing, yeah? Eliminating your Z factor. So can I just probe you for a bit? What makes it challenging for you to maintain or even discover your personal brand? Anything that comes on top of it? Your mind?
I think the awareness that there is a lot of work that goes into it. You know, are you ready for that inner work? You
Yeah,
know,
okay.
it's about accepting your shortcomings, accepting your strengths. You know, strengths is very easy to accept. You know,
Yeah,
acknowledging your areas of concern or weaknesses or whatever you call it. That is possibly a little more daunting. You know, because you know that when you're putting yourself out there, there's a certain way in which you want to project yourself, right? So there's always a conflict of, is it the right way? Am I projecting or am I overdoing it? Am I being is it that I'm bragging too much? There are all those questions that happen, right? So I
yeah,
think that's the challenge I personally feel.
right, right. Any other thoughts? One is inner work and
One,
combined with, yeah, go ahead.
so I was recently working. I mean, not recently would be a bad word. I was actually yesterday night I was working on it, and so I decided that I should have a blog of my own, and the first blog. Please don't steal the name tag anyone. But it was how do I how do I introduce myself?
Right.
So the very idea that there are times you are vocally presenting yourself as a brand, and then there are times you are writing yourself as a brand. But somewhere, not only I mean the inner work, and yes, that is true. But then there is always a fear of over articulating yourself, and there is also a very, I at least feel it. There is that consciousness about the vulnerability factor. How vulnerable can you be, or should you be, and how honest should you be when you are presenting yourself in a particular scenario? Uh, there is this constant, wondering where is that fine thin line, and how am I already trespassing it, or have I already rubbed it off? Those kind of doubts, they keep playing, and that is where I get stuck. And also, how to go about it, the steps, the methodical way to go about it and do it, that is also another one stumbling thing for me.
Yeah, yeah. So very well articulated. So, and actually, it's so encompassing what you both shared, right? Firstly, the inner work. What's my strength? What's my weaknesses? And where are the challenges? And then comes about your comfort zone, the boundaries. What kind of perceptions would you like to build for others about you? How much vulnerable should you be and should you not be? And then actually going about doing it. All of this is a challenge for sure. So that's why we have a couple of thoughts for you. We feel that personal branding is really not about one time activity, it is about continuous work. So, therefore, a very nice tag that Shanti has come up is be a keeper, not a sleeper. So, basically, that means you got to be awake about it on an everyday basis. And we feel that there are two things that are important under these. One is that everybody talks about. There may be others, but we thought if we can cover professional presence and networking in this space, that would be most optimal for us. So let's dive in again. This is going to be very reflective work. Feel free to share. Feel free to build your comfort. And in case you're unable to share something, that's also okay. And we don't have any, we don't want to impose this on you. But I feel that the more you're open, the better you will benefit from this session. I'll just list it down, all of us, because we are all working senior professionals. We understand what this is, right? So I'll just quickly go through this for you. Number one is that this is all about presence, right? How will you tell your story? And it's a part about what she mentioned about how much vulnerable can I be, right? So that's where it comes. How will you tell the story? What impact will your presence make before you even say a word, which is basically the resumes, the profiles, the LinkedIn, the search that you did, right? What will it say before you even talk to people? And when you talk to people, how will you make sure that you're memorable? Then how will you remain yourself while putting out your best foot forward? The part about how authentic should I be? To what is taking it too far versus being in the comfortable boundary? Then how will you prepare to pursue the opportunities that align with your roadmap? These are very big questions to ask. We don't we don't think that it's possible for you to figure that out now in the half an hour, but something for you to think through. And lastly, how to create a network that will open doors to allow you to powerfully introduce yourself and stand out during an interview. That's the last bit. Once you have figured out some of the earlier questions, let me just check what is there next. Okay. This is an activity. Let's get into the activity. So why don't you grab a pen and paper, or if you're working on the computer, you can also note it down. What would you rate yourself about being yourself in all situations? And this is all on the online, offline mode, all modes. Give yourself a rating. First is not at all comfortable. 5 is very comfortable. I'm just waiting for an opportunity to be myself. That's the state you're in. So why don't you go ahead and give yourself a rating? We'll come back and do the sharing in a bit. For now, it is silent reflection. Next is Shanti, can I proceed? Because I'm not able to see them because I'm presenting.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, okay. Next is how easily and openly can you express your ideas and opinions in a group conversation? 1 being not at all comfortable, 5 being extremely comfortable. And you don't have to really share the score with anybody, therefore, be yourself in your assessment. Yeah. And the third one is knowing how to dress appropriately for each setting and event that you attend. Here, my suggestion is many know, but do you have the confidence to dress appropriately that is required of that forum? Let's say you can even look at it that way. One is knowing, and the other one is comfortably executing. One is not at all, I don't know anything about how to dress. The last one is very, very savvy about what to wear and what not to wear. And comfortable wearing also. I mean, feel free to choose whichever you want to answer. I'm very comfortable wearing. For instance, in my case, I'm not comfortable wearing a sari at all. I mean, that's a surprise to many, but I struggle. So if sari is an right, okay, wear for that occasion, I'll as much as possible avoid it. Fourth one is how comfortable can you speak before a group of people? This is about similar to number 2, but this is if you are a speaker in an audience where you have a larger audience, how comfortable can you be? More like a public speaking, let's say. One is not at all comfortable, and the last one is highly comfortable. This is a nuanced one. This is something that's a very interesting question about making eye contact with people you have just met. I don't know if any of us even, some of us even notice or recognize the eye contact aspect. I remember an exercise, when I was learning NLP from this master called Richard McHugh. This was an advanced program, and the activity was they pair you up with some activity, and then the only activity for the next 5 minutes is to look into the other person's eyes, not say anything, just look into each other. My God, how difficult it was for me. How difficult. And then we kept changing. I never understood contact is different from holding the eye contact. Next one is introducing people in formal setting. Shanti, can you just talk to me about more about this? What is introducing people?
Basically, be able to talk about others in a formal setup.
Okay.
If there is somebody who is far more qualified than you, do you feel very intimidated? Or somebody who is not as qualified for you, do you feel it's not worth introducing this person as an acquaintance? Will it add value to my profile? That kind of thought. How
Okay,
comfortable
good.
are you introducing anyone in a formal setting?
Great. Thank you. So again, rate yourself. For number one is not at all comfortable. I fumble and I don't know what to introduce. I either do too much or too less. I don't know what's the right balance. And five is I exactly know how to introduce people. The seventh is starting conversations with people you don't know well, you don't know at all. These cooler conversations, they say, right? The icebreakers, and in a gathering, are you the first one to go talk to people who you don't know? Do you introduce yourself, or do you wait for somebody to come to you and talk to you, and then you warm up a little bit? Where are you, right? How comfortable are you to start a conversation? One means I'm not comfortable, and the rating 5 means very comfortable. There are just number 8 is disagreeing with someone else in a way that doesn't cause conflict. My God, maybe we'll just pause for a minute here. Just there are 2, 3, 4, I think. That people have with what they have been able to rank so far. Any sharing?
I can share.
Yeah, go ahead, Vaishnavi. Thank you for volunteering.
Yeah, so I think mostly my scores are 1, 2, maximum it has gone till 3. 3 was also the dressing up thing, and apart from everything, it was just 3, 2. How to introduce, how to talk with strangers, and then uh, how comfortable I am in a group of people who are new to me. All those were just 2 or 3. I'm not very good at. I'm an introvert, so not very good at conversations. But looking forward to network more. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And may I just also ask a follow on? And I mean, feel free to take your comfort. How comfortable are you with this rating? Some are very comfortable, some are not comfortable. If you were to rate yourself 1 to 5 on your comfort level with this rating.
My worry is I'm actually comfortable with this rating. I should not be. I should not be because it's very low. I have to network. I know that in my head, but somehow I'm like happy. Huh, okay, okay, this is also fine. So I don't want to be happy with this rating.
Okay, yeah. I should ask how happy are you with the rating, not how comfortable, because you're all very comfortable in our comfort zones. Right.
It was
Rupa.
suddenly very eye-opening in my case, at least. I was like, oh my God, you're not even a 4 in anything. What the hell have you been doing? I think only one place where I have comfortably put myself in a 4 is the eye, uh,
Eye
talking eye
contact.
to eye. I do not know how that happens. That is probably because of the background that I hail from. I think handshakes and talking eye to eye and formally introducing yourself.
Yeah.
Because when you are from defense families, you generally have to, or you are literally ingrained with those things. I should thank my dad for that. But otherwise, rest of the other things are really terrible. I am one of those people who look for a corner in a room during if I'm meeting strangers. So no, I think yeah, the only two places where I could place myself in a 3 or a 4 were those two.
Thank
Me
you.
too. I'm a wallflower.
That's a nice way to put it. Go ahead,
I
Rupa.
don't even know if I'm a wall clock because there are weird ways I would act. There might be situations where, see, I'm a Bengali, and during Durga Puja, if two people whom I know come, I'll run away from that spot because they're like, oh my god,
Oh,
some sort of a trigger in my body goes that, oh my god, they are Bengalis and they know me and they are now going to volley me with questions. And at the same point in time, if I see non-Bengali standing in the same pandal, I will be like, hi, do you know about the culture? So I do weird things at weird times, but then yes, I'm not very comfortable talking to strangers. Um, Even for that matter, when you are on a platform like professional or even personal, it becomes a huge uh, stop for me that,
Yeah.
okay, wait, I'm not talking to you. Why the hell are you advancing towards me?
yeah. No, fantastic reflections. In fact, the invitation for you, Basobi, is not to become uncomfortable with your already decisions of where you want to be, how. My suggestion for you to go inwards, maybe after the sessions or whenever time permits, to figure out where are you most comfortable, what makes it comfortable for you, right? Because the pandal experience that you mentioned is maybe you don't want to have a personal conversation there, but if you met a colleague who is not asking personal questions, maybe you're comfortable. I don't know. Something to explore
Yeah,
for
I'm
you to see.
super comfortable. I'm it's something that even yesterday, I mean, this happened because when I was writing that particular blog, when I was jotting down points, I actually realized opening up to personal sharing a personal life. Yes, it is a point. I do it when I want to do it, and then it is again with a very niche segment of people. Uh, and also talking intellectually is very comfortable for me. I am
Yeah.
happy to do that. I'm easily able to navigate through the experience, and I'm easily able to present my opinions. But the moment somebody asks me things that are very personal, I'll be like, listen dude, you don't live my body, you don't live my life. So I have that sort of a trigger, and I'm like, no, I need to run from here.
Great, great sharing. Thank you. Rupa, would you have some sharing for us? Are you on mute?
Sorry. Yeah. I realized in my case, making eye contact with the people I've just met is the highest score because I just cannot talk to people if they don't establish eye contact with me. For me, it starts effect that I also need to establish eye contact. So therefore, for me, I realized that scored the highest for me, actually, which I do very regularly. And I think the lowest I found for myself was disagreeing with someone else that will not cause conflict. I think there is an element of conflict avoidance. So it's about, you have to you disagree in a very palatable way. That's what I have always followed. It's not that in a very overtly which looks confrontational. So that's something that I realized these were the two highs and lows for me.
Thank you. You've already scored yourself on the next one, which I didn't, I just pulled back, but that's okay. We can continue. So we were till 7. And the eighth one is, yeah, you already covered some bits. So maybe Basubi can look at this now. Disagreeing with someone else in a way that doesn't cause conflict. Firstly, the first step is how comfortable are you disagreeing with somebody? Okay. Uh, and then worry about not causing conflict. It's kind of loaded in that sense, this question is. So see if you can rate yourself from 1 to 5. 1 being not at all comfortable disagreeing with anybody. Sorry, I just have to. The next one is apologizing when you're wrong so that the other person accepts it. This is also a tricky one, I feel. Apologizing when you're wrong so that the other person accepts it. Shanti, may I invite you to talk about the second piece? The person accepting it.
So one way is to say, oh, I'm so sorry, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Where the other person also feels awkward or feels that, oh, he or she does not know enough about whatever they've been talking about. So that dampens your brand. However, if you've made a mistake, are you able to acknowledge that, yeah, there's been something wrong, and present yourself or show up in a way that others don't feel that, oh, you've not stood up to the mark.
So it's almost like, what I'm hearing, what I'm able to connect with what you're saying is apologize for what happened, not apologize for the being of yourself.
Who you are, absolutely.
Oh my God, I always do this. I'm sorry. Aisa nahi hai. How can you hold yourself gracefully while you apologize to people so that they understand, accept what happened?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and
Sorry,
please.
I was.
Go ahead.
Yeah, team suddenly crashed or something, but I realized that I was speaking to the air.
Okay, go ahead now.
About the rating, where conflict, I mean, if I really readily disagree with people or not. Earlier, I was very, very. So I'm usually the sort of person who would disagree, and then internally I will have this dialogue that I'm not credible enough to disagree with them. And from there to this point where I know I am disagreeing, but I'm not always very good at respecting people, specifically when they come with very biased sort of opinions. So, and because I am more of a creative person, I prefer that sort of a space. So it becomes extremely difficult for me to talk to people who come with a very dogmatic thought process, who are not willing to think out, or who are going to behave like autocrats. So in that particular scenario, and since though I have a decade of professional experience, but I do not know, something about my personality doesn't let people believe it. But I do not know how to tell them that behind the youthful energy and the creative brain, there is also a thought process which is very deeply, working, and you need to really give me that cognizance. So the conflict is one part that I have been struggling with. Professionally, that causes a lot of hiccups for me.
Okay. Thank you. That's a very deep sharing and very eloquent sharing, if I may say. Did you also notice the next question, apologizing when you're wrong so that the other person accepts it? You can just rate it for now, and then we'll just finish one question and then take in sharings.
I noted down the question now. Thank you.
Okay, great. The last question is accepting responsibility when your efforts fall short. Usually it's very hard on that to say that I didn't put in enough effort, because we always believe we worked to our maximum. At least I do. So this is a bit of a difficulty for me, the last question. But let's see what your sharing is. Accepting responsibility when your efforts fall short. Okay. So one quick sharing and then we'll take to the next one. I don't know how we are doing on time. Shanti?
We are at 11:47 right now.
Yeah. Are we okay?
Minutes more. Yeah.
Okay, great. So any quick sharing, Rupa, Basubi, in the last three questions? I know you shared some of it already, but anything that you'd like to add more?
I think when you come to apologizing, I struggle sometimes with this whole stereotype that exists about women say sorry too often and too fast. right? Which so sometimes, you know, I wonder, did I say sorry a little too fast? You know, maybe I should have waited a little longer. If it is, sometimes there is that conflict which happens, but not always. You know, because it's kind of almost inbuilt into us to just say sorry and get on. You know, women tend to do that. So that's the only thing that I found sometimes kind of, you know, questioning myself.
But what makes you think that you did it too early?
See, the thing is, you know, let us be very honest about one thing. The corporate world looks at vulnerability and apology as a mark of weakness, right? Whether we like it or not, that's the way it is. You know, so what happens is that when you are on that path of wanting to, let us say sorry or whatever it is, you have to, you know, sometimes you are kind of wondering, you know, do I have to say it immediately? Do I have to wait for a little longer? Because you don't want to be perceived as somebody who's weak. You know, there are those kind of you know, thoughts that go in your mind, because you know, you've seen instances where people have said, let us say, I think you said sorry too fast, let us say, for example. So that is the thing which I sometimes, not always, sometimes I've kind of, it's very situational. It's very situational.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Great. Basobi, you had something to share, right?
I completely agree with Rupa when she says that there is this vulnerability factor, and I have suffered because of it. I have said sorry even when I haven't been in the wrong, and it may be somebody else goofed up, and it all came to me, and maybe there have been instances where I have even probably started my statement saying that, you know, I am sorry that you think it this way, and people would not even wait to hear the whole statement finish, and they're like, okay, she's already accepted the blame and let's just go on. And then you do not know which is the correct way to say sorry and which is the correct. So I think one thing that I've started doing now is that, you know, I've started saying that, you know, I'm sorry you feel that way, but let me finish my sentence first. And there is that added clause that I put in between just so that people think that, okay, there is more to what she's already saying. But saying sorry, I would I hate confrontations and I hate clashes. So that is one thing where I quickly rush into saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Um, People sometimes do see it as cowardice also. Sometimes people do perceive it as, you know, and about, so I would rate myself there. How comfortable am I in saying sorry? Very quickly. I think I would put myself as a 4.5 in that case. And a lot of those sorries are genuine. A lot of those sorries are just in order to avoid conflicts. Uh, and when it comes to the third question, which was about what was it? See, in articulating so much, I forgot the question.
Let me see what that is. It was about accepting responsibility when your efforts fall short.
I do accept the responsibility in some places, specifically in the personal segment where it is concerning me. I am very negligent. But when it comes to become a Joan of Arc or Florence Nightingale for others, I'm very quick to jump into the responsibility segment. There, I am willing to accept that yes, I did not take any the appropriate amount of measures. When it comes to me myself as a priority, I'm just learning it now, to be really honest.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Continue to rate yourself because we are going to be doing more of it in different format. So let's start with now. Let's move on to the consistency. Right now that you have some awareness of your own struggles and your own comfort in the previous 10 questions, let's figure out about your consistency. Number one, about how consistent are you about following up and delivering on the promises? Number one is not at all consistent. 5 is highly consistent, very consistent. Yeah. The second piece, How consistent are you in being prompt for appointments, deadlines, due dates, class, dinner, meetings, and in general? In general, how punctual are you able to keep yourself? Yeah. Some are sticklers for time. Some believe it's Indian Standard Time and are very smart about when to be and when not to be. So gauge yourself.
I so want to rate myself 6 and 5 on both these.
Okay. Third one, doing what you say you will do. And when you say you will do it, of your deliverable. Your words and your actions, both. How consistent? Number 1 to number 5 rating. In your own perception, obviously there will be a different perception. The receiver will have a perception, but your self-assessment here. Next is, how consistent are you to keep track of details, calendar events, and commitments? It's slightly different from number 2, but just about detail orientation, just appointments and your own commitments. How consistent are you? Do you often miss it? You're always on top of it? Something for you to reflect. This is a good one. Keeping confidences. It's straightforward, actually, if you look at it in a very, I don't know, crude sense. Everybody would like to believe that they're keeping confidences. But there are these sticky times when you know for sure this will not go out. At that time, do you still push yourself to keep confidences, or you're okay to, be inconsistent there? Something for you to. There is no good or bad. So kindly, feel free to contextualize for yourself and rate yourself. Next one is not repeating, encouraging, or engaging in gossips. Sometimes this can be a feel-good factor, also in a unharmful ways, but sometimes it can build your own brand negatively. So therefore, look at your own self. How consistent are you about this? The key word is consistent, not one-off cases. So look at your past few years, actually, I would say, as a personality, what are you more leaning towards? The last but one before is conveying positivity in your interaction. It's really about both your words, body language, and your energy that you pass. Are you always looking at what could be better? Are you looking at what's already good? As a trend, right? As a consistent behavior. And the last one is, how consistent are you about displaying your confidence when you enter a room? I watched another video someday or some session it was, and the person was talking about how to enter room, like entering room itself for a 5-minute conversation. And she was saying that women tend to unknowingly just peep and then just check if everybody's there, and then see with one eye and 1 ear and half the face before they enter. She's saying never do that. So I'll stop sharing and invite reflections.
I will start now.
Sure.
This time. I won't be the one who will be waited upon. So, about my Indian standard time thing, yes, I do. I would rate myself as a 2.5. There are places I would reach. There were places I would not. I am 3.5-ish with my calendars. With my dedication and work commitment, I would place again 3.5, depending on who I am doing it for. That is also that is very subjective with me. If I don't like the person, I'll be like, let this person come and chase me this time. That kind of a vendetta sort of a statement that I will give. About entering the room, though I walk very nicely in,
But the moment I realized that, there are people who are carrying weight, I do sometimes stagger slightly. Uh, Also, I think, yeah, I mean, this would be it. This particular set of questions, I could actually reach 3. Thank you.
Welcome. Rupa, do you have anything to share with us?
No, I think I realized that maybe because I'm one of those people who's like kind of very finicky about time, about schedules, about sometimes I get on people's nerves because of that. It's
Mm.
like sometimes I possibly swing to the other extreme. So because of which those things for me were like pretty much yes, 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 these things do happen. It's always there. And also by virtue of some of the roles that I have performed in companies, keeping confidences became a part of who, but you have to keep your mouth zipped, kind of a thing. So because
Right.
of that, that's once again, is there. The only area which I found was that, as I think Basobi said, that entering a room with confidence, it all once again depends on who is there in the room.
Mm.
Right? I mean, if you don't know who is there in the room, you've just walked in, without a care. But if you already have been alerted too much about, what, that person is going to be there, you have to be very careful with what you say in front of that person. You have to make sure that, when you're given a lot of those good intentioned feedback, then what happens is that then you are kind of, even before you enter the room, you're like kind of being very, very guarded. So that's one thing that I have noticed. When I don't know who is there, I'm myself. I'm just kind of myself there. That's the thing I've noticed.
I'll just quickly come back to the confidence, keeping confidentiality. I am a 5. In fact, I can be a 7 or an 8 or a 9 in this case. You pass me a story, which is probably your story, and probably your own spouse is sitting next to me, and I will not let a word whisper, even a whisper drift towards that person. So I'm usually that amazingly good at it that there are I have sort of become this very mystery but confidence keeping kind of a friend and employee who's like, even see, my segment is such that I have to speak to media also. Even when media comes back and says that inside story suna hai, ye chal raha hai kya in your organization, I am someone who will be like, I will be, I don't know from where that I think it is my theater days that come back to me or something. I will be like, you heard it really? This is really that way? Oh my god, no, this is not our statement. But I am extremely bad at anyway the PNPC. There is a Bengali term called Poroninda Porocharcha where we are talking only about others. I'm extremely bad at that. औरतों वाला discussion ऐसा भी is like very difficult for me. So anyway, 90% of the gossip things don't come to me. So that passes beyond my confidentiality part. But anyway, the gossip part, I'm not good at it. And when it comes to keeping confidences, I am probably a 9 or a 10 in it. I will put myself on a 9 or a 10.
Can't hear you, Selva.
Now can you?
Yes.
Good, my mic is working. Okay. Right. There's some study, I can't remember what it was a few years ago, but how there is this mental model that women are gossipers. Okay. And men are very keepers of confidence. But somehow in my experience in the realities of corporate world, I see more men gossiping in smoking areas and your drinking parties. There's so much current affairs happening there. Women are too busy in their own world managing their life and moving on. Somehow as a value indicator, women are very high on action speaking, confidence keeping versus, and if you were to just for the drama of it, if you have to compare it with men, there was some study, I think it was done about this whole trust and safety. But it's fascinating, right? How all of us believe, and here all of our women here, to be on high on confidence. Okay, great. Now there are 2 more slides which will need you to reflect. I just want to check whether you're comfortable continuing on this self-reflection mode, or do you want us to skip some of it? We can do either depending on your energy.
the intent of those reflections is different, Selva. We can't skip those two
Oh,
slides.
we can't. Okay. So let's go for it. Yeah. Maybe we may not be able to share at every point. Maybe we can just quickly do the reflections in one go and then make time at the end of the session for reflection. Okay.
We are already at 12:03. Yeah, so we need to pace up.
12:03, no? Okay, thank you. Some more consistency questions. I'm going to read it up. You can quickly mark yourself. Preparing your thoughts in advance for a discussion. Yeah. 1 is never. 5 is all the time that you prepare your thoughts. Next question is, how consistent do you practice how you will articulate the thoughts? Not just what, but how. How are you going to say it? The third one is, how consistently do you write your goals? Whatever that may be. My goals were, where am I with that? This is another interesting one. How consistently do you seek out a mentor or a coach as a sounding board in your industry or in your space? And how consistently aware of your own body language and others as well. I think this question is about your own body language. Yeah, I'm going to move on. So these are some checklists that you need to say yes or no. Okay. Number 1, yeah, do you have an email address that projects a professional image? It could be your company email ID or it could be your individual name that is professionally presented, not some these I find very interestingly some creative ones. Do your email projects your professional image, whatever that you believe is professional in your spaces? Second, how consistently do you reread emails before you hit send? Yeah, high 5 is high. I read it like 10 times, or yeah, I never read it. I'm sure what I'm writing. Third is, do you have a Facebook page that would show to your prospective employer parents? Shanti, could you throw more light? Why specifically Facebook page?
LinkedIn is a more professional environment. Facebook is a more personal environment. And these days, corporates, even if your clients are there, they check both your LinkedIn and your Facebook profiles. Now, actually, we should extend it to Instagram also. If you have a presence, how do you show up on these key platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram and Facebook being a lot more personal than LinkedIn? So then if you show up like that, then how do you show up there? Will the client want to pick you up from, based on what they see on Facebook? Those are some thoughts that we would want you to think.
Okay. Again, 1 to 5 rating. Then do you have a voicemail greeting that conveys your best self? Is that an in thing now, Shanti?
Voicemail or an immediate response if it's an email, even if it is to say, received your mail, acknowledged, but can't respond right now.
Okay.
Either of it would work.
Okay. Got it. Then how consistently do you take notes when making commitments, listening in meetings, or gathering details? This is a very nice one. How confident? Reiterating the value of having a professional and memorable self-introduction. How consistent are you about it? 1 to 5. The next one is about how do you consistently focus on your grooming and professional appearance? This we've already covered. Yeah, we've covered some of it. Okay. Are we good here? Can we move on? Shanti, is that a good place
Yeah.
for us to move? Yeah, okay. So this is all coming together now. Now you're putting it all together of all your reflections so far and answering them for yourself. Yeah, this is the writing time for you. Number one is highlight from all the reflections that you've had areas of improvement and focus on necessary changes. Let's say, you want to enter a room with confidence. That's your areas of improvement. What would you like that instead to be? Yeah, you can look at all the list of areas of improvement, not one or two, whatever that comes to you. And then within that, you select two items that are most in need of improvement now, that will have the most impact on your life and opportunities at this point of time. Select two of them that has high impact areas for you right now. Yeah, now once you have picked two objects or two items of your most impactful areas of improvement, write them in column, two columns, right? Write them in one of the table, and then write against them, write a description of how each will be different when you have mastered them. So basically more like your current state with it versus a desired state. How would it be if confidence is a key area for you to improve? How would you look when you're really confident, like 5 on that rating? What would it look like for you? And write that down. I'll give you a couple of minutes because this needs thinking. Yeah, moving on. Once you have discovered that two areas, now look at 3 practice opportunities where you will use these throughout the next month. Where are the opportunities for you to work on them or show your best self on those? If you can think of those. Just looking what else. So Shanti, quick question. Do I cover them now or can we go for a reflection?
We can go for a reflection.
Okay.
Let's see what people have to say, then we'll proceed. In fact, validate and all they'll have to do later only, because for validation they need to go back and check. So we just let them know how to validate and we can.
Okay, great. Yeah, take your time, but we are ready whenever you're ready for the reflection.
I think I'm doing fairly well in this segment. Yeah. Like not too terrible. There have been moments like, yeah, some places, but 3 would be my average rating here for almost all the questions.
You're on mute again.
Thank you. So were you able to pick top 2 items? Vasobi?
I picked out far too many, but okay. I'm extremely good at finding faults with myself. So
Right. So curious if you are comfortable sharing the top 2 items that you've found for yourself that you want to work on, the high impact areas for you.
one would be my self projection vis-a-vis confidence, and I think embracing myself and projecting it likewise. I think both sound similar. And also being more organized. Yes. The second point would actually be organized, being more organized. being more organized, being slightly more disciplined.
Okay. Rupa?
I think once again, when you're talking about the goals part that you showed, right? I think once again, it connects back to the fact that I'm so finicky about writing down everything. I can never walk into a meeting without a notebook in my hand. It's like if I don't have the notebook, I think I'll start feeling a little uncomfortable. So to that extent, those areas are, even I've always believed that in order to have a productive meeting, it's very important to read the agenda in advance and make sure that you don't waste others' time, your time as well as others' time, right? So therefore, that preparation and when you're preparing, practice happens by default, right? I mean, it's kind of they're related to one another. So that part is something has been very critical, and also because by virtue of the fact that at some point of time in my career, I also took up a sales role which had nothing to do with my core competency. I learned there the importance of writing down goals. The sales goals, especially, they are relentless, right? They are relentless and they won't let you go. So I think that kind of helped me with the goal orientation as well. So somewhere along the line, that's there. But to answer the other question of have you written anything, honestly, I haven't. In terms of writing those two things, I haven't really.
Yeah, we invite you
But
to
I have a
look at
question
it.
for you, Rupa. Do
Sorry?
you sometimes feel that you are being looked upon as someone who is like still stuck in the old processes, who is walking into the room with a notebook? Because that has happened with me. And I would consistently carry a notebook and a pen, because even if I have a system in front of me, I would like to pen it down. But then I don't know. I have sometimes people are like, but you hold a laptop in front of you. Why the hell are you carrying that kind of a look that you get?
Honestly, I don't care. I mean, that's where it boils down to, because, this is something, when you need something very urgently and you have to refer to it. I mean, for me, the notebook has always been my savior. That's you carry it with you everywhere. So suddenly you don't have your laptop with you, you don't have your phone with you, you're possibly making your notes. And, maybe if you're carrying that little notebook in your bag or whatever, I mean, I always carry it in my, handbag. So therefore, for me, that's worked very well. Not saying it'll work for everybody, but in my case, and honestly, to answer your question of, when people look at you in a certain way, I mean, if you care, then you will be worried. If you don't care, you don't have to. You got to do what you got to
In
do.
that
That's all.
case, I will add another point, which is not. I'll have to learn to not care about what others think. So
Awesome.
that is another thing that I would add to my list then.
It's a big win, a big win of the session, I would say, right? Not care about others. Now, Rupa, while you did not pick the two items,
Yeah.
our invitation is for you to look at it maybe post session to see
Yes,
which are the
yes.
most pressing, high
Right.
impact for you, because it really helps for you to
Yeah.
put into action, right? Because today it's all about eliminating your blocks, right?
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
True.
And we have some suggestions on what else can you do after you finish identifying your top two impact areas that you need to improve. We are saying that validate it. Nothing like validating your own fears and your own perception of yourself in those top two items, and ask two people with whom you interact and be trustful, right? You have trusting relationship to be your feedback and accountability partners, which basically is ask for happens again, will you please let me know? Or will you keep a watch of this? Or will you keep asking me about it whenever we meet? And things like that. Some sort of accountability where you're able to share and keep that in your top of your mind. Then share your two key goals that you are intending to do and what you want to do about them with that person, right? These two people. Because it's always useful to say, hey, this is what my ideal self should be, and this is what we're striving. And if it's a trusting relationship, you'd always find people helping you find blind spots that you haven't really saw for yourself. And lastly, ask them to give you feedback through the time, in real time, whenever meetings happen, whenever you meet them, or have a schedule, whichever that you work, whichever you're comfortable with, to basically get an external validation, get an external perspective to this, and have some accountability partner working with. Nitrogen, and then we're moving on to the coordinates of Grow with Satori. Shanti, would you like to take this?
Yeah, so this is part one. What we did today is part one of eliminating your Z factor. A big fear among most of us is how do we network? What's the right way to network? In a big forum where there are hundreds of people, like-minded people, similar in profession or interest, do we sit and meet with the same set of people? Or if we have to, even if we have the courage, do we exactly know what to say, how to introduce ourselves? That's going to be the focus of our next workshop. 16th September is what we are planning. We'll share the details of registration soon. And before we move to the last coordinate slide, Selva, can we move to the first couple of slides about the programs that are coming in the upcoming days?
Yeah, sure. Let me just go back there.
Yeah. So one is called as Do More with Less Time. This is a program. It is again in a series of managerial skills. We just completed feedback yesterday. And how can people leaders accomplish more? Because all of us have the same amount of time. This one is a paid workshop. It's a very small amount, 300 rupees. But the idea is when people register, after paying, there is diligence. They do turn up for the sessions. That's the intent for this workshop. There is another workshop. Since all of us are women, I'm so happy to talk about this Empower program. It is a 2-day residential program intended only for women. We will stay at a resort and spend 2 full days together uncovering the centered leadership model, starting with, finding the purpose and strengths. Then we'll find what is it that holds us back from demonstrating those strengths fully and showing up in the right way. Then we will talk about how do we find allyship, how do we find networks, how do we find the right sets of people to connect and promote ourselves. Yeah, it may be wonderful to know a senior lawyer in Bangalore, for example, but is that going to help me? How can I make use of those connections? We're also going to talk about how do we do that balance between work and life, and we move to a form of work-life integration that makes more sense to us. And lastly, we're going to talk about how do we keep ourselves energized. So because through the 2 days, we'll be talking about do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. There'll be so many to-dos we'll walk away with. But then we don't want you to walk away with a feeling of, oh my God, there is so much to do. We will wrap up with how do you keep energized? How can you refocus yourself every time your energy starts to dip? This is our third batch of this program. If you go to our Grow with Satori page, you will see the testimonies and pictures from our previous batches. So just enjoy, and hopefully we'll be able to see a few of you in our upcoming workshops. Yeah, we will send the PDF version of the pack to you. We will make the recording also available to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then these are some of the links where you can stay connected with Grow with Satori as well. Cool. So we are at the end of this session. So we'd like to ask you to tell us, what did you like about the session today?
I think I like the reflection part of it a lot, because the world that we live in right now is so much of information overload. Everybody's saying do this, do that, and especially on LinkedIn now, everybody is a gyani on LinkedIn now. So what happens is that you hardly have any time to reflect. You are just jumping between one Microsoft Teams call to the next, and you're just kind of all over the place all the time. So I think this gives that your own time to think about where you are and have that amount of honesty in acknowledging where it is, so that it helps in your growth. So I think I loved that part about the self-reflection.
Thank you, Rupa. That was the endeavor as well. Vasobi is on hold.
Vasobi seems on hold. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Anything else, Shanti, before we wind up?
No, we can wind up. Thank you.
All right. We have 8 minutes to give you back, the most precious commodity on earth today.
On a
So,
weekend, absolutely.
so enjoy a cup of tea or do whatever you like, and wish you all the best in your goals and in achieving them. And always stay in touch with us. And I'm available on my LinkedIn as well. My full name, yeah, you will figure out Selvakani Selvaraj, and you can reach me as well. Thank you so much, Rupa. Thank you, Basobi. Have
See
a
you
good
then.
weekend. Bye.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.